Yes. Okay, hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. We thought we would discuss something that's really topical at the moment that a lot of women are taking, and that's these GLP-1 injectables that are found in things like Mounjaro and Ozempic. And basically, it's a hormone that is released in the gut that kills hunger and satiety. And this can be very concerning because if Ozempic kills hunger, then where are women getting their vitamins and minerals from? And we know that we need nutrients, an abundance of nutrients in order for the body to fulfill its essential functions, because all the systems and structure and functions of the human body are built from, run on, dependent upon, or influenced by the presence of nutrients. So if you're not getting the nutrients from food, then how is your digestive health going to work? How's brain health going to work? How are your hormones going to work? Your nervous system, osteoskeletal system, reproductive system, brain health, skin health, it all runs on nutrients. So that's the first issue that kind of alarm bells sing to me with something that has become so prevalent. And we don't know what the long-term side effects are or the effect on the gut microbiome. And if you're killing off your beneficial bacteria, you're essentially killing off your well-being, your life, because those beneficial bacteria play a key health in brain health, immunity, digestion, skin health. And there's also that empowerment piece. If you're having to inject something into you in order to get a desired outcome, then essentially what happens when you stop that practice, the weight's just going to come back on. And then, they essentially want you to be a customer for life. Now, there are some women who, I'm always going to be an advocate of diet and lifestyle because that is sustainable and that is empowering. There are a group of women, though, that say, but Sula, I've tried diet and lifestyle and the weight won't budge, especially in menopause. And I know, stress is a big one because when we're stressed, the body hoards fat. It's, end of story. And there are also a group of women that are like, no, I'm not going to do diet and lifestyle, but I want a healthier swap than something made by a, big pharma company. So I'm always going to meet people where they're at and go, okay, well, if you're going to do this anyway, then this is a healthier swap. So today, we're going to unpack all that. And we were having this really interesting conversation last week with Cress and a few other of our Young Living business leaders. And I'm going to hand over to Cress because the conversation got really interesting and fascinating. And I'm like, we need to do have a webinar on this. And Cress is such a fountain of knowledge. And Young Living have come to the party with a healthy swap that doesn't have any negative side effects. So Cress, I'm going to hand over to you to unpack and discuss that and do a share screen, and I'll pin you to it.
So first up, I will, hi everyone, but also just wanted to tell you a little bit about the reason that I dove into this. So I had gestational diabetes 3 times, so with all 3 pregnancies, and the last 2 I was insulin dependent. And so I know for myself personally, I need to watch my blood sugar levels, and my father at 84 has just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So advanced onset adult type 1 diabetes. And so the reason that I really dove into this is he's been put on Ozempic in order to treat it because Ozempic was primarily made to treat diabetes. The fact that it made people not hungry was this side effect that they did not expect to happen. And so then it has been sold, and it used to be off-label for weight loss, but it's now used as a weight loss drug. The same with Mounjaro. And so we'll talk a little bit about the difference between Ozempic and Mounjaro. Also, I've got some notes here to make sure I kind of get everything right. So or don't forget things. So sorry if I'm going to look at my notes as well. But I want you to know that I've tried Balance and Burn. I've only been on it for about 5 or 6 weeks. But already I have seen a huge benefit in my blood sugar levels, which have had drastically gone out of control with the beginning of menopause. So thank you very much for the hypos during the night that were waking me up. I really didn't enjoy those at all. So let me just share my little prezzo. Someone's not on mute. If they're not on mute,
I'll try and sort that out.
thanks. Let me just put this in present mode. Okay, so So first of all, GLP-1s are GLP-1 is a hormone that is in our body, and it is when you're using something like, can you guys see the faces in the way, or is that just me that sees them in the way?
No,
Okay,
no, we're just seeing you in the slides.
okay, cool. So the they originally designed, as I said, for type 2 diabetes. So, but what they actually do is they protect. I'm not going to read you my whole slides because that I find it really annoying when people do that, but I'm happy to share the slide pack afterwards. But they were used for type 2 diabetes. As I said, my father's got type 1 diabetes, but it's used because it protects the beta islet cells. And so he's been on it for, let's say, January, maybe 11 or 12 weeks. He has lost a significant amount of weight, but at 77 kilos, at almost 6 foot tall, he really didn't need to. He's now 71, and my physio, who is probably the only caregiver that sees him that often, says he has extreme concern that he has lost predominantly muscle mass and bone mass, which obviously at his age is really difficult. Now, I have heard of people that have been on GLP-1s that have had astounding success because they have been in a state of really poor health due to being extremely overweight. So I'm not going to judge and say that this is not for everybody. I think that actually people who have tried feel like they've tried everything, maybe it is for them, but there are some real concerns. And one of my biggest concerns is what happens when you stop them. And I've got hopefully I've loaded up the image of how quickly people regain weight when they stop. And so just wanting to flag that as a real concern. It has stabilized my father's blood sugar levels and is thought to have a cardioprotective effect. And he had a stroke 2 years ago, kind of out of nowhere. But he doesn't look good. And one of the other things that we've seen also too is that he just doesn't seem himself in terms of his mental health. So he just seems flatter. And interestingly, I don't know if you guys have heard, and actually put it in the chat if you've heard anything about it, but people have been using GLP agonists. So you're actually just injecting GLP-1 into your body when you're using one of these injectables, which is different to what the Young Living product is. But people have been using it for other addictions like gambling, like alcohol, because it seems to work a little bit on the dopamine as well, that you don't get that dopamine response from those exciting things. I don't really know how to word that. And so sometimes it's like, it sort of just stops them maybe diving into. In fact, I even heard someone say that it improves their shopping addiction. Maybe I need to try for that. Just kidding. So the concerns that we have with it, so with the sarcopenia, so the muscle loss. So the physio I mentioned, he's in Double Bay. He treats a lot of top athletes, but also a lot of the women and men in the area. And in fact, there was a woman in the cubicle next to me who'd been on Ozempic. So Mounjaro is about 4 times as strong as Ozempic. And so people who don't respond to Ozempic will sometimes go on Mounjaro. And I hear people in the pharmacy when I'm picking up my dog's meds all the time, getting the medications. They're very, very common, like crazily common. But I don't actually know what the cost is, but I know they are relatively expensive unless you do have them on the PBS. But what we see is this real loss of weight very quickly. So in the celebrity world, they're talking about Ozempic face. But what this is, it's not just the loss of the facial fat, but we're losing it everywhere else. And if we think about what is our brain mostly made out of, please, I'd love you guys I can't see the chat, but our brain is mostly made of fat. Now, can this be a benefit if we are extremely obese and overweight? Potentially. But, thinking about this other aspect of what other things are we going to lose? And now one of the biggest concerns they've seen is with this GI distress. So lots of nausea, vomiting. They've seen patients who now go in to have surgery or even colonoscopies and endoscopies have to sign a form and they need to stop their GLP-1 drugs prior to the procedure because it slows down the way that the stomach deals with food. And so I just have this visual image of the food putrefying in the stomach because normally it's like 12-hour fast. They're having to do 24 to even 36 hours to fast to make sure you don't have food in your stomach because obviously then you can vomit with the anesthetic and it can get in your lungs and it can kill you. So pretty serious. And the other thing here is that when people stop the drugs, that they can regain their weight 4 times faster than with other methods of weight loss. So that's I would think a significant concern. So how do they, I meant to go and get the little packets and I forgot, but how does it come? They actually come in this really beautiful packaging, two cardboard cylinders. So the Balance and Care is it's like a little, how big is it? It's probably about half of that size, and it's a little sachet. So they're all individually packed, which means it'd be easier to travel with you, whatever. But the sachet is a has the Akkermansia in it, that's kind of like the hero of this, which is a postbiotic. So it is dead already. So it's not a probiotic that's concerned with temperature or things like that. But what they've shown is when you've got Akkermansia in your body, they tend to be people that have a lower body weight. And just a really much healthier gut microbiome. And so it's been the sort of buzzword postbiotic on the market for a couple of years now. It is not actually available in Australia, like to purchase from Australia. You must buy it from outside of Australia. But Young Living has it. And then I'm just going to look at some of the other things that are in this thing. So it has in its studies, it's linked to insulin sensitivity, modest weight and waist reductions, and better metabolic markers in overweight adults, but combined with lifestyle changes. So allulose is also in that. So I was a little bit concerned with this little sachet. It says to put it directly in your mouth. And I take a lot of supplements that are really gross. So I was I was a bit scared about that. But actually it's really sweet and delicious and kind of like it's kind of like the old days of those sherbet things that you put in your mouth, but not tingling. I actually really look forward to it in the morning. It also has agave inulin in it, which whilst we don't love the idea of agave, which is high in fructose, it's the inulin, so that's a prebiotic fiber. And then also it's got soluble tapioca fiber, so grapefruit extract and wolfberry extract. So if you think about it, they're actually packing in all of these nutrients for your gut microbiome in this little sachet. So I have that first thing in the morning, and you can have that without food or you can have it with food. It doesn't matter. Then in the other little sachets in the other carton, it comes in a little sort of a square, maybe about the size of an old, like the soft matchbox books. And it has 3 capsules in there. And you take those, but it's recommended to take those with food because it does have guarana in it. And some people can get a bit shaky if they have it without food. I've noticed if I've had it with a lighter breakfast, I notice it. I'm really sensitive to caffeine and things like that, though. So now what they have in it is, so I think I've just written down, so in the burn capsule, which you wouldn't know between the 3 of them what's what, but there's pomelo fruit extract. So in that is the citrus polyphenols. And the reason that that is in there is that it helps to break down fat in the body. And so I remember listening to one of the scientists talk, and he said there's no point in losing weight. And if we think back to what we're talking about with Mounjaro and Ozempic, unless we're losing body fat. So one of the things that some people don't love about it is that, so Ozempic or Mounjaro works very quickly. You lose weight very fast. That's part of the issue, actually, because we just don't know where it's coming from. But if you're with this product, you're losing it in a slower pace, but it is, the reports come back. So I did do a little graph. Actually, I can just show you now, because I feel like it's relevant right now. Let me just stop that share. I'll just show you the other screen. How do I get out of there? So I'll just show you this one because I think this is cool to see right now. So this is people's real results. So this is based off, there were some trial groups from Young Living. It hasn't done a clinical trial yet, but this is their average weight loss. This was a 12-week with 21 participants. There are a lot more results that you can find. There's a lot of Facebook groups where people talk about it. So 5.5 or 5.3 kilos on average, 30 centimeters on average, energy score improvement, 8 out of 10, and sleep improvement, 7.4 out of 10. So if we look at the balance and burn, it is a slower process. And they really say that it's not until sort of the 3rd or 4th month that you feel the weight loss. And like many things that I've seen in the past, they recommend that you focus more on a DEXA scan or on centimeters because they want you to be gaining muscle. So they do recommend, and they have all that information available about a healthy nutrition plan, exercise, all the rest of it. But even if you didn't do all of those things, and I can share this with you, these were some of the things that people found. So reduced food cravings, reduced food noise, feeling full sooner, improved energy, better sleep, improved mood and focus, reduced bloating, less joint pain, and steadier blood sugar. So week on week, people were seeing these really great weight loss stories. If I switch there, can you see that screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Um, I didn't go back what was into all of the capsules, but I will. So there are other ones that are in it. So using those citrus flavonoids. So they've been studied to have modest effects on weight, insulin sensitivity, but also knowing that if we're using grapefruit, just being mindful if anyone's on blood thinners. Um, then they've got hesperidin in it, which is also from citrus peel. And the great thing about Young Living is that we know that when they're sourcing these um, extracts, that we know exactly where they're getting them from, right? So there's nothing, there's not going to be anything gross or disgusting about them. So the citrus hesperidin has been shown to improve endothelial function, blood pressure, lipid metabolism, so breaking down of fat, anti-inflammatory properties. And then they've got guarana seed. So I don't know if you guys remember the guarana phase of the probably 2000s. So it's a natural it's naturally rich in caffeine. So it has been found in research to increase energy expenditure modestly, but give you a little boost, and also fat oxidation. But has strong human data for thermogenesis and performance. So thermogenesis is increasing our metabolism. Now, I really view this product as something that is perfect for women in menopause. Many of us have those changes then. I found it to be really beneficial for me. And I've tried all the things. I eat healthily, I've 1,000 supplements, all of the stuff. And I know that I listened to a podcast with Jacob Young and one of the scientists, I can't remember his name, and Jacob Young's taking it because he wants to get from 17% body fat to 15% body fat. And he was just talking about the benefit. I was like, I wouldn't mind being 17% body fat. But they were just talking about the benefit for everybody. And there was also a conversation about whether you needed to be on it long term or not if you were not overweight. And one of the things that it brought up was talking about visceral fat. So we can't really see visceral fat. It's around our organs. It's not the adipose tissue, the rolly bits that many of us don't love. But we also don't, unless we're doing DEXA scans, we don't really know what's happening underneath our skin, underneath our muscles. And so to me, I think with a healthy supplement like this, it might be worth giving it a trial every now and again to see how you respond to it. So doing sort of, a few months, a year, and just seeing. But I like to test everything on myself. And so you don't have to if you don't want to. We've got green leaf, we've got green tea leaf extract, and it has a little bit of caffeine in it, but obviously green tea we know is very good for us. Then it's got black ginger. So black ginger also shows increases in energy expenditure, exercise performance, and vascular benefits. And so thinking about some of the things that might happen with a slowdown of flow or whatever in this in our body changes as we get older. Bergamot peel oil again. So it's really about the essential oil and the limonene in it. So if we think about that's really protecting the fats in our body, and if we're breaking down fats in our body, we want to make sure that they're staying healthy. Then cinnamon bark oil, which is high in cinnamaldehyde, and we know that that is really good for blood glucose. If you guys haven't been to one of the blood sugar talks, there's one on, I think, next week or next month. In the other ones, in one of the other capsules, there's berberine. So berberine has really been one of the strongest used natural supplements for blood sugar. I've been taking it on its own for a long time. It did not work for me the way that this has worked for me. It's got R-alpha lipoic acid, and so that also works for insulin sensitivity, neuropathic symptoms, and weight loss markers. Then I can't say that. Hang on, I'm going to try. Gymnea leaf extract, which gosh, I can't think what the plant name of that is, but it's used for in diabetics. What's the leaf? What do they use as a sweetener? That leaf, the green
Stevia?
one. Huh?
Stevia?
Yeah, is
Stevia?
that? Yeah, I think it's close to stevia, something like that.
Um,
There's also bitter melon fruit extract and chromium. So all of those are really blood sugar stabilizers. And what we were looking at with the difference here is that instead of just injecting a GLP into our system, which has all of these not fantastic effects, This is really looking at doing something more slowly, and it's looking at. So one of the concerns, which Sula mentioned, I watched the same thing with Mindy Peltz, was talking about the what does it do to our gut microbiome over time to have food sitting in our gut putrefying. I can't imagine that's a good thing. I mean, we all know that we've all heard the advice that we should do some intermittent fasting and allow our gut to empty. And so I don't know about you, but it just doesn't make sense to me to have that stuff sitting in there. But what these, the Akkermansia and the prebiotic fibers do is that when they're in there, they actually signal to our body to make its own GLP. So there are some other ways to make GLP. One is exercise, one is going out in nature. But when we're doing that, we're really up leveling our own body's way to do it. And if you think about the way that taking a prebiotic, postbiotic, is that when we add that over a few months' time, we're really increasing that colony inside our body. And so that is giving us a benefit. There's no sort of negative side effects to that. Here we go. So there's just a little bit more on just a breakdown of what's in there. I can just share this slide pack with you guys. So are there any questions in the chat that?
No questions, just statements.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you my experience with it because I've told you a little bit about what people find online, but I was getting blood sugar. So I wear a blood glucose monitor fairly frequently. In fact, I've got one sitting in front of me on my desk because I was really struggling with sleep. So I'm what they call newly menopausal. I've only had one period in 2 years, but I had 11 months after one, and then I had to start the clock again. But I found that I had all these things that were happening differently that they weren't before, and I didn't like it at all. So I was waking up at sort of 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've looked at all the things. My liver is actually playing up at the moment. I've got elevated cholesterol. I have never in my life before. And whilst I was looking at supporting my liver, I think actually it was the waking up in the morning that is bumping my liver off. And so having started this a few months ago, I started to not have, I was having hypos at that time in the morning, and having food just before I went to bed was kind of helping, but I was still having the hypos. But then it would like prompt my cortisol to like jump up, and I'd be awake for the rest of the night. So I was frequently only sleeping from about sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the morning. And that was about 4 or 5 nights a week, sometimes 6 nights a week. I'd get like one night's sleep, and that's how I'd have to get through. But since starting this, probably a few weeks after I started, I'm sleeping through the night for probably 5 nights a week or 4 nights a week. And it's rare that I wake up, and usually I can go back to sleep after about an hour. So already for me, whether it does nothing else, that is an amazing change. Now, I haven't noticed any weight shifts, but that is pretty common at the stage that I'm on. Because I've really only started it a short period of time ago. Now, I have noticed that my body has changed since being in menopause. I still work out the same amount. I still eat the same amount. Actually, I think that's an important thing to cover, is that frequently as we get older, women are just not eating enough. And so we're busy. Our digestion can get weaker, especially digesting proteins. We might notice a few shifts when our hormones start to drop. And so people sort of might start to play around with a bit more fasting. I think personally, most of us are too stressed to do too much fasting unless you are totally not stressed. Good on you. That's not the situation that I'm in at the moment. And so I really believe that we need to be nourishing our body. And I know for me personally, because I have someone in the house who's had a eating disorder and that still sort of bumps up, I can't really eat the way that I need to for myself. And so I sometimes just need to eat the way that works for the family, not for what works best for me. But Ningxia Red to me is like one of the great attributes to add into this program, because you're really making sure that you're getting all those antioxidants. So one of the concerns Sula said is if you're not hungry at all. Now, this is different with this product. It's not that you're not hungry at all. It's just I find I'm just not that I was really a snacky person, but before I go and pick up the children from school in the afternoon, or I just have to pick up one now, I would sometimes just grab something as I was going out the door. I don't even think about it now. So not that I mean, it wasn't like a big deal for me, but I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift there. I'm not really sort of someone who is worried about snacking all day anyway, but I have read the reviews where people are just saying that their attitude to, the food that they're feeling attracted to has totally changed. And so with the addition of Ningxia Red, you're really making sure that you also, when you do start to lose that body fat, that you are helping your mitochondria to create energy and you're getting supporting your liver. So obviously with me, with my liver crying out at the moment, I want to make sure that I'm not kind of I guess, releasing. So we know that we store a lot of toxins in our fat. So if we're releasing body fat, then we're also releasing toxins. So really increasing that. So for me, it's recommended in the program that they talk about. But for me, I feel like it's a total no-brainer that we would do that. And so then these are some of the reports that I had read. So I just put them in here. So really looking at those, more menopausal changes, but also the fluctuating hormones and our insulin resistance as we get older. Some people have, I didn't really have the huge high blood sugars, but it was that I was just kept dumping in the middle of the night, which was really an issue for me, and sometimes mid-morning as well. I've tried a lot of other things to try and sort that out and nothing worked. So these are kind of the changes that other people had, talking about, food noise and then significant sort of inch or centimeter loss, whichever metric, obviously used American data. And then just people feeling a bit calmer. And I will say, actually, my brain feels more like my brain. I don't know if anyone has noticed shifts in their brain function with menopause. My naturopath swears that it's to do with the blood sugar dysregulation. But I also feel like I just felt like the words that I wanted, or sometimes things were a bit further away and it was hard for me to get to them. And I feel like that has shifted a little bit, and I'm not exactly sure of the driver of that, but I will say that's changed since I've been on this product. And I will go in and ask questions. I just can't see them while I'm on chat. But if you are already a Young Living member, then the way to buy it, you have to buy it from the US website. So at the moment, it's not available in Australia yet. The rumor has it is that the TGA here we know is complicated, but they will. It's the goal is, I think, to have it here early next year, which means we could put it on a monthly order. So it comes with the 2 cartons with 30 days supply. And at the moment, you can only buy one a month on your account. So there's someone else in my family that's also using it, but we buy one on each account each month so that we can kind of get through. So just having a think about that. It is about 225 Australian dollars delivered to your door. And somewhere I think I put the cost of this. So if you look at it, it's about $7.50 a day. But personally, my health is worth a lot more than that. And I certainly don't want to end up like my dad, having actually moving into type 1 diabetes. And I'm really keeping an eye on that. And then if you paired it with the Ningxia, which is about $9 a day if you do 2 shots. I do 2 shots because I've noticed that the way I feel during menopause has shifted a little bit, and I feel like I'm doing better on more. And also, and I know I saw Kerry's face before, I was talking to her that when you do energy work, Ningxia makes it like traveling down the superhighway. So it's really fun. And then, I didn't put the other. Okay, so this is the other one. So if you have not yet got a Young Living account, then I would recommend purchasing the Ningxia Red Starter Pack. That gives you 24% off for a year. And then you can order from the US website, and any of us could help you do that. Or I'm just going to stop sharing there so I can see your faces, and I like just saying my face. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, I would be very happy to answer them. Let's see.
Yeah, there's one question about blood
You
thinners.
can't buy it on loyalty points yet.
Oh, you can't?
No, because it is a new product. That's pretty common.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so for
Yeah.
new products, I take that back, because normally NFR, we just we use our points for NFR. Okay,
Yeah.
so apologies for that. And I know you said to be cautious with blood thinners. In your opinion and research, have you come across any contraindications for it?
I haven't, but I just, not, I mean, just that needs to be something that you speak to your specialist about. I mean, it is not, you're not supposed to have grapefruit juice. I mean, just going to put it out there that there are plenty of people that drink Ningxia I think, that are on blood thinners, and it's probably not an issue. But if you know about it, then I just couldn't recommend that for someone. You've got to ask. It's very unlikely that your doctor will know the answer. But it's really up to you to be comfortable with that decision, because it does have the citrus in there, but it's more the grapefruit that they worry about.
So
And
which
obviously,
citrus? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I
Sorry, you
was going to
go.
say there is someone with that. Is it CPYMK difference? They need to be careful. No, CYP3A4 is that it does affect if you've got that particular gene snip, then I would recommend test like just checking with your holistic practitioner. And if you need someone, I can recommend someone, but you would probably know if you had that gene snip anyway, because you'd have some issues with other stuff.
And Kirsty, remind me, which citrus oils did you say are in this product?
So it doesn't, what does it got? Let me go through. I've got the full
I
list
didn't
here. So
think I heard any citrus oils. Or does it
well,
have
it's got
grapefruit?
extracts, not oils. So it's got the
Oh,
grapefruit
okay.
extract, it's got
Oh,
pomelo
grapefruit.
fruit extract, grapefruit fruit extract, the hesperidin from citrus, and bergamot peel oil, cinnamon bark oil. That's it.
What's got bergamot? Okay, bergamot oil, because the scientists in America said that the citrus oils have a compound in them that target fat cells and stimulate lipolysis, so the breaking down of the fat cells. I suppose there's nothing stopping you from putting, and especially so in grapefruit oil, there's nothing stopping you, therefore, in your Ningxia, just putting extra grapefruit, like putting grapefruit oil in there. So it's just like an extra.
Yes and no. I mean,
Yeah.
I would probably say from someone who's very sensitive, and because my liver is having a little hissy fit at the moment, I wouldn't, because there's already citrus in
Enough.
Young Living in Ningxia Red
Yeah.
anyway. And just
Yeah.
being a bit more on the cautious side, if I've already seen my liver markers are elevated, I'm not going to throw in more, because I just want to manage things slowly, because
Yeah.
I don't want to have a massive, thing where my liver's dumping stuff and I have to clean it up afterwards. I'd rather just go slowly.
And so you started taking this product not primarily for fat loss, but you started taking it to regulate blood
No,
glucose.
I didn't. I started taking it because I would never recommend a product I hadn't tried myself. And it gave me
Oh,
this unexpected benefit. I don't, there's not one single product that I recommend to anyone that I've not used myself, because to me that's not the right thing to do. So I try all of them. And so,
yeah.
but with this product, I didn't really expect it to make a difference. I've tried something sort of similar before, and it was like something, but nothing remarkable. It just sort of, I noticed I was with this other product that I was feeling a little bit more sort of maybe not as peckish, but not the effect that this one has with the blood sugar. Like that to me was like, oh my gosh, I really didn't expect to have that.
Yes, because the scientists did say that I suppose it has this dual function that it lowers blood glucose, so less glucose gets stored as fat, and reduces hunger and increases satiety. And I know I've got a friend in WA, and she said that she and her community are all on this balance and burn product, and she said they've all their testimonials are that it's reduced the food noise. They no longer have sugar cravings, and it's improved their gut health and not as hangry, she said. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and look, I think
yeah.
it's I mean, I don't not everybody has this, blood sugar dysregulation with menopause, but certainly in my naturopath, who I've been seeing for 20 years, she says that she puts most of her menopausal women who have sleep issues with a glucose monitor, and she finds that most of them are having hypos overnight. And that's the thing that then it sort of like triggers that cortisol response, and then they're not sleeping. So even from that aspect, if we think about something that's going to stabilize that, but also give us only benefits, it's like there's no negatives to it. It's, interesting to
Mm,
trial. And then
mm.
also, I really love that idea around the visceral fat as well. I mean, if we can't see it, we don't know it's there. And so, is it worth swapping out I mean, I drink coffee rarely, like every now and again. And so for me, people talk about swapping out your coffee, but I also don't drink alcohol very much either. So I'm like one or two drinks a month. So for me, I'm like, I'm super happy to spend $10, 10 or $15 a day on supplements or sort of, health things for my health to have a longer lifespan, because I really plan to be here torturing my children when I'm like 130, 140. That's my goal. And yeah, if we don't know, we can't see what's inside our body unless we're having regular DEXA scans. And I haven't had one since I've been to a health retreat, probably, 10 years ago. And we know that women hold more visceral fat than men do, and it only increases as we get older. So for me, in my brain, it's like, well, why wouldn't you just try it and see how you feel?
Mm.
Rather than obviously, unless you have something significantly of concern in terms of maybe the grapefruit or whatever. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing to try and see how you benefit from it.
Especially for women like my friend in WA who was on the carnivore diet, like, traditional whole foods diet, then paleo diet, then carnivore diet. And she's just like, the fat's not shifting. And she's like, she loves this product. So, that's I was just really, really curious at that. And also for women, as I mentioned earlier, who are like, I don't know, we meet people where they're at if they're like not interested in diet and lifestyle, but we would always be advocates of that.
But I
I
think
would rather them
everybody in
take
our
this,
community
yeah,
is at
yeah,
least kind of, they're pretty
open.
much on the page of eating
Yes,
mostly well, you know.
yes, yes,
We're not
yeah.
eating at Macca's every day.
No, yeah, yeah. And there was another question by Jenny.
Yeah.
Are there any known contraindications with other
Look,
medications?
there are none listed, but I mean, obviously, you need to, I mean, if you think of something specifically, I can, just have a think about it and see whether I can think of a response. I can tell you that when you go and you get your GLP-1 in prescription from your endocrinologist, they're not asking a lot of those questions. And really, if
Mm.
we think about it, these are mostly like they're just supplements. It's not, I mean,
Mm.
not to mean that they're not powerful, but they're just supplements.
Yes,
Kind of
they work good
extracts
with the
of,
body.
berberine, of, antioxidants of like, they're not, it's, are there known side effects? I would just think about it from this perspective. It could potentially, if you are on insulin, then potentially, yes, it can change your blood sugar and you need to be mindful of that. But you're going to be monitoring with a blood sugar monitor anyway. So just keeping an eye on it. If I think about, what could the side effects be of having more polyphenols? You
Mm.
could feel better. You could have better
Yeah,
eyesight. Like bad,
yeah.
terrible. I know a lot of people sometimes, and I agree because I know Sarah looked at the Emu gummies because we both got them, or I think saw them from America, and I don't personally don't like the taste of them, but they have these things in them too, the tapioca fiber and the inulin and the allulose, and we were thinking, oh, that's crap. It's all got these sweeteners, but actually, it's just food for your gut. And sometimes, we went through the whole low carb, super low carb phase, and everybody was eschewing like we don't have any fruit or anything, and no root vegetables. And we know that wasn't great for us. We need all of those different
Mm.
things in our life, and we need the food for our gut microbiome.
Mm.
And then if we look at sort of the other things, if you have a heart problem, maybe think about guarana and green tea leaf extract. But if you're drinking coffee, then wouldn't worry about it. You're already drinking coffee anyway. And then, I've tried bitter melon extract on its own. I've tried chromium before. But yeah, this one has really made a change for me, and I've really tried a lot of different things. So I feel quite excited about it. And I just like to see how I feel after another few months and whether it does shift things. And so, I haven't put on a huge amount of weight, but I just notice I'm kind of softer
Mm.
and a bit sort of,
Yeah,
cuddlier, which I'm
yeah.
personally, I don't want to be cuddly like that. So we'll see. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the health aspect has got to be for me. I'm just like, cool. I've actually done something about my blood sugars and I'm sleeping. Holy Mary, just
Great. So
yeah.
good. And so there's nothing in there that's harmful. There's only positives. I presume at
Yeah.
some point it will come to a straight,
Oh yeah, so
maybe.
sorry, next year they're saying, which would mean you could
Okay.
get it just, you could just put that on your monthly order
Order.
and you would
Yeah,
just,
but in the meantime, it's NFR and you have to pay.
yeah.
And maybe in a few months' time, maybe they will lift the ban on not using points, maybe. Who
I
knows?
think
It's no
too
longer a new product.
it's going gangbusters in America, and so
Yeah,
it's a little bit to limit you like only being able to buy one because they're trying to keep it in stock for people.
for
The
everyone.
recommendation is that you must be on it for 3 to 4 months to really get that to see
Yeah,
that benefit because it's doing things under the surface before you see the result. So it's not kind of a like
yeah.
boom. How do we
Yeah,
buy
there's a
NFR? Is
big
that Jenny Pickles? No, some different Jenny.
Yeah, so Jenny, I've done a little video on that in the video gallery of my member resources page. You just basically log into your Young Living website in Australia as normal, and then
I
there's
can
a
show
little
you.
flag at the top, and you just change the flag from Aussie to USA, and then it will just basically populate the USA website, and then you'll just search balance and burn, and it will come up, add to cart, and then that's separate to your Young Living monthly order. You still have got to do your Young Living monthly order. This is in addition to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can
But
just
if in doubt,
Thank
I
you.
step through the steps,
look,
step by step. If you go to the video gallery
I can quickly show
in
you if you want.
the member resources page, yeah, you just
So I've just logged in,
change.
and then up the top here is the little
Yep.
flags. You click America, you accept that you're
And
not
you
going to try and sell it here,
follow all the prompts.
and
Yeah.
then just go here to balance,
Balance. Yeah.
look it up,
Add to
and it's there.
Mm,
balance
okay.
and
We're
burn, and
already in
then
my
add to
cart.
cart. She's always, yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't lying when I
Yeah.
said I use it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Kerry, you said this is such an amazing, informative presentation, Chris. It is. It was an excellent presentation, Chris. I loved all the slides. Let's open it up now to if you want to unmute and ask any questions, or even type in the chat who's like seriously thinking about buying it and using it going forward. We'd love to know.
Oh, hang on.
So there is a little if we go to actually let me go back. Let me show you because we can't, I'll just show you. If we go back, I actually have to open the American website. So young living.
So it's basically young living. They're always at the forefront of trends and health and wellness. And so this is their answer. This is the natural healthy swap answer to all these GLP-1 drugs that are out there.
So if you go to the American website, because we don't have it available here, we don't have the information. But if you go to their website, they have where is the little, there's somewhere in their digital library. Yeah, digital library. There's something about I found it when I was researching a while ago, but I don't know if I know where it is now. Balance and burn. There's a recommended, there's just a bit more information on it. So there's the better meal guide, getting started with it, and then, well, that's how to share it if you want to, do it as a business. But there's information in here about, recommending stuff. So that's kind of helpful as well.
And it is, it's going gang, like there's a massive community in WA that are all on it, like that love it. And so we just thought we would share this information and
If
see what
anyone
you
has a
thought.
question that they don't want to ask now, I'm happy for you to send me a message privately and I will give you my perspective. I certainly haven't noticed anything negative. No, there is one time that I took the capsules without having had a proper breakfast and I felt like I'd had a double espresso, but
Oh, so eat
that's not
first.
super negative, I
Yeah.
don't think. I just went, oh,
Yeah.
I better eat something. That was it. Yeah. And actually,
Yeah.
I think I feel a little bit more energized in the afternoon than I used to. So, sometimes when I get to school pickup, I'd be like, oh my God, I've still got so much of the day left. But I still feel like I've got a little bit more get up and go.
Yeah.
Hey, Sola, do
Yes.
you know in the WA tribe if any of them are currently diabetics that are trying it?
I shall ask. I'll
Okay,
ask my friend.
thanks.
Yeah, I'll do that after this. Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
few Facebook groups too, so I can try and ask in there as
Yeah,
well.
that's
Yeah,
right.
I was just
They're
thinking about that too. I might ask
yeah.
around
Yeah.
too, because there's a few people that come to mind just sitting here listening.
Oh,
So and when you say are they diabetics, I presume you mean type 1, type 2?
I mean type 2 actually,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
feel like, if it helps to stabilize blood sugar, maybe and I don't know, I'm thinking ahead, and obviously people would need to seek their health practitioner's counsel, I suppose. But if type 2s can regulate their blood sugar with this supplement,
Yeah.
then maybe they don't need the other things, and then they can,
Yeah.
you know,
They
are
don't
these
need to
type
inject
2s on
insulin.
medication or not on medication?
medication.
As in metformin?
Metformin.
So I would just be monitoring blood sugar
Yeah,
more
I think
closely.
that's
I mean,
yep.
personally, I've taken metformin before as well, by the way, just because
Yep.
it's like touted as a longevity thing, blah, blah, blah. But it has been shown to reduce the ability to create energy in the mitochondria. And so
Yep.
interestingly, I've already got issues with gene snips with that. So it's definitely not a drug for me, but also it's been shown to be disproven to not really be the longevity drug that they thought it was. But yeah, I would just be watching that it doesn't, drop your blood sugars too low, but they should be monitoring it anyway.
Yeah.
I will say that my dad has had a fair bit of dizziness since he's been on Ozempic, and he just doesn't look himself. He just
So is he going to stop that and switch to
Well, do you know
balance
what?
and burn, or is he taking both simultaneously?
No, he's just my dad loves it. Loves it, like being part. Like he's 84. He loves being part of the sickness brigade. He thinks it's great. He doesn't even want to tell I'm thinking of dobbing on him to his GP because he's not going to see them for another 2.5 months. And I'm like, dude, you could like not be here by then. I'm a bit worried about you. Like he lives on a farm by himself. So I'm really debating, but I just like it's really hard to go behind my dad's back and do that. But I'm like, he doesn't look good. He looks unwell.
Right. And I've had that feedback. I've got a friend of mine, a lot of her relatives are on Ozempic, and she's
Mm.
just like, they look so aged. They've got so much saggy
Yeah.
skin,
Mm.
and they just have to keep injecting it into them. It's like, I just find that a very disempowering way to live.
And then I guess, yeah, I mean, for me, I know I've spoken to Kerry about it before, but like, why don't they try them on metformin? Or although metformin's not really for type 1 diabetes. I mean, if you look at insulin, it's not super awesome either. But if you have a
Mm.
skilled endocrinologist, you don't have to put on weight. From the moment I started injecting it in pregnancy, I just got put on like a kilo a week. And I'm like, this is not healthy. And they're like, you got to keep doing it. Anyway, whatever. But
Mm.
it's not amazing either. But I mean, I recognize the fact that he needs to be on something, but I'm not sure that this is the right thing, or at least maybe they need to reduce the dose. And I've spoken to him about it, and he says, well, I'm already on a very small dose. And I'm like, dude, maybe you need even less. Like you've already had the changes. Maybe it's a smaller amount to keep you stable. But I describe him as being a bit fattest anyway, so I think he quite likes the weight loss. I don't think he realizes how unwell he looks.
Mm. Yeah.
Anyway, Galinda, do you have a question? No?
Anyone got any questions? Anyone interested potentially in possibly giving it a go? No?
Sarah's going to ask something, I think.
Sorry, hi.
Hi.
Chris, how much is it for a month's supply? Does it come in a month's supply? How does it
Yeah, so it's about 225 delivered, depending on the US dollar. And so I worked out it's about, that was on my slides. It was, what did I say it was? Like,
$14 with the Ningxia and then without the
yeah, but I
Ningxia.
think it's like,
$7 something, I think you said.
Yeah.
yeah, it's about $10 a day.
10.
all
Yeah.
right. Sorry, I missed the first part.
No, no,
Okay.
that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
And is it the Young Living recommendation it's taken for 2 to 3 months, or is that your findings?
No, they recommend that you are, well, look, it's a bit tricky because with Young Living, you've got to find your information in a lot of different places. And so from what I've seen, there was a post from, is it Chris Baubank, who's one of their scientists on Facebook the other day, talking about the fact that it really takes about 3 to 4 months. Have you guys heard of the weight loss whoosh?
No.
No, no one's ever done any. Anyway, so they talk about the fact that you've got all these changes going on. So Cindy O'Meara, who I studied functional nutrition with, she does a particular fasting protocol. I can't remember what it's called with these drops. I have no recollection of what it's called, but they did the same thing where you did it for a period of time and then it was all of a sudden you would get this change. And so it wasn't something that you would see right in the beginning. And so they encourage you to understand that things are happening underneath the surface. And so they actually say, which I probably didn't want to say out loud, is that sometimes people might feel more fluidy in the beginning because it's starting to liberate things and change things. And I guess it's kind of just sticking through that and saying, well, and winter's the perfect time, right? Is just to say, well, I'm going to give it, a quarter, like give it 4 months and see what happens. I'm not saying everybody has to do it, but I personally, I like the changes that I'm seeing, and I definitely want to have my brain back and be sleeping through the night. So for me, I'd really like to just continue it for a bit longer. And there's also on the Young Living, there's that podcast. It's a really bad name, the Oily Drop or something, really bad name. But the Jacob and someone whose name I can't remember, because I didn't really pay attention, were talking about it and saying, is it something that you need to stay on all the time if you have reached your weight loss goals, perhaps? And the idea was that maybe it was something that you would sort of just listening to your own biology and taking it as you felt that you should, but also just considering, for me, that visceral fat thing is really, an important aspect that I want to make sure that I'm on top of. And also, blood sugar and liver and all of that stuff, insulin, making sure you're not having all those drastic spikes because they're not good for your brain. And if our brain isn't functioning, as many of us know, if we've got elderly parents or whatever, you change. You're not the same person, and I don't want that to happen. So that's my perspective. I'm not dictating that to anyone else. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Mm. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Huge thanks to Chris for an excellent presentation on a topic that's, very, very topical. And happy last day of the month and excited for April.
Happy
So
Easter.
everyone have a beautiful evening. Good night.